on locations throughout the world.
Standing passengers, please do not lean against the doors.
Picture goers, we bring to you new films of interest.
Chicago in State is next. Doors open on the left.
The miracle of the motion picture.
Please be considerate when talking on your phone or listening to electronic devices.
Chicago's a nice town if you're looking for pizza.
Welcome to 4 Stars, a Chicago film podcast, a podcast about movies set in Chicago. I'm one of your hosts, Paco Alvarez. For this episode, my co-host Jeremy Martyr and I had the pleasure of speaking to Jared Isaac about his new movie, An Autumn Summer. Jared is a born and raised Chicagoan, and we had a nice time talking to him about his connection to the city, what inspired his movie, what he plans on doing next. The Chicago premiere of An Autumn Summer will be on April 23rd at the Music Box Theater, featuring a post-film Q&A with Jared, moderated by Joe Swanberg. You can check the show notes for a link to tickets. If you missed that, the movie will be releasing in select theaters on May 1st and should be out streaming in the next few months. We hope you enjoy our conversation with Jared. Thanks for listening.
We want to welcome to the podcast filmmaker Jared Isaac, director of An Autumn Summer. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Jared.
Thanks, Jeremy. Never gonna forget you guys because you never forget your first. So, thank you.
Is this your first conversation that has to do with this film?
No. I mean, it is. There have been conversations like here and there around like the festival run, but this just feels different. Like I'm getting to talk with Chicago folks, Chicago guys about, frankly, Chicago people that went to Michigan in a movie, but it feels really great to be at this stage where it's the film, we're discussing the actual release of the movie. So yeah, feels like a seminal moment to be here chatting with you guys. So thanks.
Jared, can you talk a little bit about your connection to the city of Chicago, where you come from, sort of your connection to the city, and how that informs your work?
Yeah, I grew up here. I grew up here in Lakeview, which is like the neighborhood that I'm currently living. And I grew up on a bit of the west side of Chicago. So I really felt, and I carried this with me to this day, when I moved away for school and moved to LA for a little bit, but like holding a bit of the north side of the city and the west side of the city in tandem. And I'm really grateful for growing up that way, like just getting to see a lot of the city. And as we know, as Chicagoans, it is a bit of a segregated city, but it kind of only if it's allowed to be that way. It's more a social construct than anything else. So I grew up in Chicago, both sides of the city, and it'll be home in a way that no other place could be. But I'd be lying if I said like a perfect life. I want like here in the summers and somewhere else the rest of the time, because you know how it is. But summers are getting longer here. I grew up. Like I said, I went to. Before we started, I mentioned that I went to Northside Prep for high school, a little school called Hawthorne Elementary here in for grade school, and then recently moved back in 2023, shortly after we had wrapped filming, which is a very long time ago, and been here since then, kind of just living and working.
You mentioned that you briefly had moved to LA. I'm curious, like, could you talk a bit about your journey into filmmaking and how that happened?
Yeah, I'm happy to. It was love with movies as a kid, and similarly with the dichotomy of living on the north and the west side, with just mom on one side, dad on the other side. I got two very different filmmaking and film educations for like what they wanted to show me. My mom showed me like Errol Flynn movies as a kid, and like French foreign films that obviously went over my head, and I was probably bored at oftentimes, but somewhere that stuck. And then on my dad's side, he loved showing me like kung fu movies and Jean-Claude Van Damme and like Steven Seagal and like the action movies. So I felt like I really enjoyed getting like to see all of that. And going to the movies, like I think my first memory of going to the music box was a double feature of like Bruce Almighty and Finding Nemo. So
Oh, hell
whatever.
yeah.
And then yeah, it's just like making movies with the friends in high school and fucking around and doing all that um and then back and in college making short films and shooting whatever I could. I none of it is anywhere because there was no at that time it just filmmaking and being a part of that world was something that I didn't think was practically possible. It was just something that I really enjoyed doing, but actually a path, a tangible path into that just didn't seem. There was just like here I was, here that was, and I there was no discernible first step, and nor did I even have conversations with really anybody about like, hey, how do you go about that? Just kind of like on the path of high school, college, and without really stopping to think a little bit about what do I want in my life. You know, just kind of running, and yeah, just speed running, being a young person. Um, then after graduating college with a degree in mathematics that I had no interest really in also like practically using, like it was weird. I went to school and ended up in a math kind of place, but humanities and like the arts and actual like just being with people was always where I gravitated towards. So it was just like, why'd I do that? Don't really know. So then after college, came back to Chicago, started just kind of just bartending and taking. I was really interested in like stage work at the time and like all capacities in front, behind the scenes, just like wanted to be a part of that world in Chicago. It was like I feel like I knew people that had done that. So it's like, okay, let me hit those people up. And so I started like taking acting classes and improv classes and PAing on every film set that I could. That's where I met a friend of the podcast, Kevin Shaw, who actually like, I think he gave PAing for him was one of my first like paid jobs in Chicago where I was like, I'm in now. I just PA'd on a doc, like I'm in. And then from there on, like just being curious and excited about what people were doing, afforded me the chance to work with more people. And it was one of Kevin's producers on a shoot that he was directing, who was like, "So what's there's a woman named Judy Friedman in Chicago. Shout out to Judy Friedman, producer, like a commercial producer for a long time here." And she was like, what's your deal? Like, clearly you're like, what's your deal? You know?" So I told her that I had grand aspirations, and she was like, all right, well, like, do you want to be on movie sets? Do you want to be an extra in Spike Lee's movie Chirac tomorrow? And I was like, yes, obviously I do. And that was a crazy first like major production to be on because literally they had, I think I was there like 2 weeks as an extra, and it ended up being my first like SAG job because I snuck onto a dance number that I wasn't supposed to be on, and then ended up Spike Lee was like, "Hey, like." They put me in the front. He was like, "Ben Affleck, get the steps right." I mean, I'm like 5'9", so you know. But I guess to Spike, maybe every like white guy above 5'7" is like Ben Affleck. But so it was like, all right, I got moved from that to the back. But I think the lesson that I now, you know, reflecting on that, take away from this crazy world that we are all in, and being in the arts in general and life in general, but especially like in filmmaking, is like there's no rules. There are a few rules, and maybe if they had said like, "Hey, you're not in this number," then I wouldn't have been in the number. But it's just about like I'm really glad I took a step and, you know, knocked on that door, and there's doors I regret knocking on, and that's not a good feeling. So yeah, that was about in 2014 14 or 15, and then was just working on productions in Chicago. Moved to LA in 2018 with some friends that also were Chicago guys. Went to Northside, but they went to film school in SC. And that's how like a lot of the crew for An Autumn Summer got together. It was like Chicago people that I had formed relationships with, um, and like some of my best pals, and then the network that they had formed out there, and we all got together to basically make this movie. Yeah, it's been a fun journey thus far, but I'm really excited to be releasing the film in Chicago and like get connected with the Chicago community again. It's been a long time, and I want to meet everybody.
Yeah.
Let them come out of my hole a bit and say what's up.
Well, I will say through our podcast, Paco and I get a lot of experience having people not from Chicago shoot the city. And it's very interesting to see the opposite happen, right? Where we have a Chicago filmmaker shoot a location that's not in the city, right? So we're having a conversation with you,
Right.
Someone who was raised in and socialized by the city of Chicago, shoot a feature that I think is not represented enough in Chicago filmmaking, which is Lake Michigan. And I would say that in the lake, right, lakes shooting on water. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with the lake, your relationship, as well as the challenges that you had shooting on the water?
I love the lake, obviously, and I've done. I've been fortunate enough to wake surf on the lake, and I've done a polar plunge. So like I'm there for the spectrum of what the lake offers. I love the storms that are on the lake, like the the power of Lake Michigan. Yeah, it's not to be trifled with, but and also the memories of being on the beach in Lake Michigan. Like I can growing up in the city can pretty much trace any time of my life, and there's like lake memories there for sure. And in Michigan, we we had no challenges filming on the lake. It was just beautiful. We were filming on a small lake.
Yeah,
For all the
quite.
boat scenes, it was a small lake, um, but for the dune climb scene, when we were like looking out at the lake, that's Lake Michigan, just like kind of like across from where we see it in Chicago in a lot of ways, essentially. Um, and yeah, it's the ocean over there. I always like up when I'm in Michigan specifically, and although really anybody, it's just like the first time someone tasted that water, it's like, oh my God, we can drink this. The lake is a mystifying thing, and I want to acknowledge that. And as a I really my second movie, which is a Chicago, like it's a Chicago film, I'm excited to see like how the lake will play into that. Yeah, I love it. I want to be out there as much as possible. Like my best friend Kevin, who is the protagonist of An Autumn Summer, like his very fortunate to be friends with Kevin. His family has a little boat on Lake Michigan, and we try to be out there as much as possible. It's very lucky to get to experience it. So I'm happy to help clean the boat whenever I'm asked to try and pull my weight, essentially. Yeah, love the lake, absolutely love it. It is beautiful. And now as it's like April 4th or 3rd here, right? 4th it is like we're on the other side of it. It's like we're close.
Yeah.
We're coming out of our shell right now.
Yeah.
I guess since you're speaking about your connection to the lake in Michigan, I'm curious. What inspired the story behind An Autumn Summer? Like was it like personal memories, or like how did you get there?
It's yeah, I mean it's essentially like 100% true. Um I met my bud Kevin when we were in kindergarten, and we became friends and then best friends and then brothers essentially. And then his family invited me to join their Michigan summer tradition, which they had been doing for a number of years at that time. And now it's like, I think this summer will be year 22 or 3 for me. So I was an add-on. I was an add-on because Kevin had older sisters and they got to bring friends, and he was like, let me get a friend. Um, so then I was his add-on. And then he got a girlfriend, Cody, and then she was able to come because his sisters had partners. And he was like, well, Jared needs a friend now to be at the trip. So then he brought our other best friend, Martin, and then he came on the trip. So now, yeah, so essentially, like, it's all true. That was very representative of the summer that we spent together in 2010, and pretty much how we try and spend every summer when we're up there. But like the essence is 100% true, and a lot of the experience is true. But the house, like, that was a house that fell in our lap. We rent these little cabins when we're up there. Never up there for a month. It's only like maybe 10 days, but getting to, so like little things that were changed for the story. And um what was interesting is like you guys bring up like being a Chicago filmmaker and like going up north, but like that was just like that was this story. But like the characters just talk about Chicago, and a lot of the wardrobe is like, it's not like we're throwing Chicago in their face in, like, it's not like a plot point or anything. But I did want to make that clear that like they bring that essence with them. And so what was interesting being a Chicago filmmaker and writing this like Michigan story was sending it like to the Michiganders that ended up, yeah, it's just an awesome, like, you're like, if you're from Michigan, you're a Michigander. It's
It's
a
a
fun
good.
one. But sending it to them and them saying that like how beautiful it was to have someone that, and surprising that someone outside of growing up specifically in Michigan was able to capture like their experience. So that made me feel really great. But like, it's like you say, like I and we, the collective friends and family that get to experience this little summer trip, we're visitors in that land. And like I am always seeing it from this like mystical perspective of, it is always changing and never changing. And once a year I get to be there, and and I get to experience renewal in myself and in nature. And it's a time capsule. And I hope, I wanted to do that with this movie. I really do feel like it could kind of take place at any time, really. And that's how I feel when I'm up there. It is a timeless endeavor. So yeah. Um, I honestly don't remember what your question was. But
I
I
will.
hope we talked about some things,
You
or
were
I
you
said some
were you were
words.
talking a little bit about like your personal connection and how you made that. Can you
Oh
talk a
yeah,
little bit about your filmmaking
sure.
inspirations? A little bit about like who are your influences, where you gather that from, and how you put them into this film.
I'm genuinely like, okay, so you guys saw it. I would love to know what you think. What do you think are some of the influences? Because I'm just curious if anything like rang true. And I'll can I like flip the
You'll see if it.
can I flip the question back on you and be like, did it remind you guys of anything?
I
Because
was
I think that's a cool thing.
Paco, do you have anything off the top of your head, or you? I mean, go. I have one. If you don't.
I have one. I don't know if like I think it was just more like the actual like visual style, not necessarily like the story, but also sort of like the dynamics between the characters. It kind of I've kind of reminded me a bit of Christian Petzold. I was thinking like a little bit
Oh, I
about
haven't seen that.
he's a German director, right?
Oh,
Uh
cool.
Yeah.
he directed A Fire and most
Oh yeah,
recently,
A Fire is so good.
No
yeah.
way. Okay.
But his movies are a lot more stressful, I would say. Like his movies are like slow burn thrillers. But A Fire is actually about like a group of friends who go go to a vacation in Germany, and then a fire starts. So it's very
No
stressful.
way.
It's much more
Okay,
stressful,
okay.
but just the
Yeah,
I-
your movie is not
No.
as stressful as
But-
On
but
Fire.
that's such
to be
a-
clear.
It's really cool. Like I had never even heard of that filmmaker, so I'm really excited to check that out. Okay, sweet. Well, then to answer the question, I mean, but Jeremy, what was yours?
Well, I
Yeah.
was thinking when I was watching it, just because it's a high school movie, I was thinking about the 2010s period of time where we were getting and being fed movies about youth and youth culture and
Yeah.
adaptations of youth stories, YA stories, and it didn't remind me exactly of that, especially in the filmmaking style, but I was thinking back on like the 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 stories that I grew up with when I was going through high school. The Days of Summer, or whatever that one
Kings
is.
of Summer.
Kings of Summer.
I love that movie.
Yeah, and just like plenty of movies about that period of time. I mean, I was thinking about Superbad, not in its style again, but that exact period of time when you were transitioning on from your friends, your friend group,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
trying to decide what to do with the next chapter of your life. And I was thinking about that period of film history.
Well, I love Kings of Summer, and like I love that movie because it's like, yeah, it's kids on the cusp, it's kids in nature, and I think it's incredibly cool, Paco, that it reminded you of like a European German film, because I'm also like, that speaks to what I was saying at the start. It was like I was watching these old movies and influenced by like how a foreign film, for whatever reason, like the sensibilities are just different, and there's something about it that sticks in the back of my mind. There's like a French movie that I know I watched with my mom that I can see a frame of it, and I don't even remember what the movie was, but that feeling is stuck back there somewhere. And I don't and I think that's just really cool. I'm excited to check out A Fire. So thank you guys for I was really curious, like what was like, what artistic influences you thought might have come across. And then so yeah, I mean, that's for me. What other, like, I mean, Dazed and Confused is one of my favorite movies that's on. Yeah, I do just, I love that film. And um between 92 and 76, we've got 16 years, and between 2010 and 2016 we have the same amount of time. Like, so I just think that's an interesting thing to note. And but it does seem, just watching, like, yeah, I don't know. Watching, maybe it would have been different if you're someone that grew up in the 70s and you're watching Days of Confused in 1992, and you're like, oh man, like maybe you're like, yeah, not much has changed. But it just seems like from 76 and 92, so much changed, from just like from everything, from stylistically and what people wore. Whereas like 2010 to 2026, it's like, like, I don't know. It's like it could be taking place today. I maybe have gone, like, I went too far in not saying that it was in 2010. There's just like a little shot in the beginning that's a calendar. It says it's 2010, but like, if you get it, you get it. I mean, I love the Before Sunrise, etc. trilogy. Just like two people and romance and love. And I would say that like the kind of the walk and talk scene in the dunes, which is like a 5.5 minute one take shot, I definitely drew inspiration from Richard Linklater and Before Sunrise, and just two characters and really experiencing that moment. Yeah, and all those coming of age stories, I love all those. And a good one, I think, just will always hit. And I really, when I look up like best coming of age films, and I kind of see all the ones that I have seen, and I think about the characters that populated those stories and what they were, who they were, and the relationships that they had, and specifically like the love stories. And I don't think I've seen one that is the couple that Kevin and Cody are, and the couple that I got to witness them being, which was this very secure, stable, my interpretation, because it's like, this is what I saw, which is interesting because like I'm a supporting character, but I'm the one telling a story that I saw. But it's like not my story in a lot of ways. But they gave me permission. Obviously, everybody was like, yes, of course, you can like thank you. The only thing was Cody said change her name. Everyone else like is their name. But yeah, like seeing the canon of coming of age and of love, of coming of age love stories, like I just hope that we have a chance to affect people in that way. And who knows if people will see the film. Obviously it's just like what making what indie film distribution is today is its own thing. But like that's why I'm really excited about this, and I'm really excited about the music box. It's like, it's okay, well, getting to actually like share the art with people, talk about it. So yeah, I mean, I love all those films. Admittedly, I love Call Me by Your Name, but it feels like gross now,
Sure.
like
No, but the
feel
style
don't
of
feel
it.
good about loving it. But stylistically,
Right.
me and Brandon, shout out to Brandon Sommerhalder, our cinematographer, who was the first person I sent the script to. He and I became friends back in 2017. When I was acting in like a short film with his. I was in a full pickle mascot, and he was filming this thing, and it's like we just became pals. And um, he's like the next Roger Deakins. The guy's incredible, like truly stunning. And yeah, I mean that was stylistically and just feeling wise. Yeah, we wanted to full immersion into this world was a big deal because the nature, the landscape is another character, and we wanted to like just absolutely revel in that because it's so beautiful. It's like it is stunning up there. It feels like another world, and at least it does to me, being someone who like has grown up in the city of Chicago. It's like it's quite the reset. But yeah, I the film references all day. Like I just love movies. I love them so much. They're so much fun.
Did you guys shoot on film
We
for this
didn't.
project?
No, we didn't. But we tried. We wanted it to look that way. With hopefully in a way, also like our colorist Stephen Derlugian. He and Brandon work together in tandem all the time on like their documentary projects. And so Stephen, I'm sure I was the least experienced person on the whole set by a mile, and like so like we could have made something bad if it was like up to me maybe, but I just knew like I've got good taste, and like everyone is so talented, and they took over, and it was just beautiful to watch and like gently nudge the ship. Our actors, they're unbelievable. Like want to give Mark McKenna, Lukita Maxwell, Junyu, Julian Bass, Louise Barnes, Tony Horton, Katie Baker, just give them their flowers. They're amazing. But yeah, it was just incredible to get to watch everybody work every day.
So
And
you mentioned the ensemble cast because that was a question I wanted to ask you.
yeah,
Just what was it like? You just shouted out the cast, right?
yeah, yeah, they're amazing. Love them.
Working with that amount of people, what was that like? What was that? I'm sure that was a little bit out of the realm of your experiences before, but many movies like are not able to have that size of a cast. And
Sure.
yet
Yeah.
the film itself to give you your flowers feels very intimate. It gives each character their moment to have with each other. What was it like working with that large of a cast and sort of tying it into what you had originally envisioned?
It's interesting that you say it was like a large cast because like I don't know, I wrote this movie and I was like brought it to a buddy who's like a line producer and he was like, you wrote a big movie. I was like, oh, it felt small. The Michigan trip is this cozy little thing. What are you talking about? Like he's like, no, you just wrote, there's like a whole live band and like there's like what are you talking about? I was like, all right, I can, there doesn't need to be a live band. But so it's like but working with the ensemble, it felt like being back in Chicago on the black box like theater stages. It felt like being a part of those ensembles. So I felt right at home, and it was so much fun. Like and they're amazing. Like the talent level of everybody and the willingness to play, which was derived from just like a deep understanding of the characters. And I was casting like my family, my best friends. Kevin's parents, Mary Lou and Steve, were like my second parents. So it truly was an essence thing where where like it becomes this magical act that like I don't want to know. That's like the magic is the not knowing, and like where they end and the character begins, like I don't want to know. And it's so beautiful to just watch them kind of like make be magic and be these like beautiful vessels, or they're just like, yeah, vessels for the story or themselves. I have no idea. But putting everybody in a position and just being together, like then it was just I got to light that firework and then it just went off, and it was like capturing little moments of it, and it was just a joy to let them do their thing. Everyone was so awesome. And I'm really glad the movie's finally coming out in a way that a decent amount of people, I hope, will get to see it with a theatrical release to some extent, because they're amazing. Yeah, it was an absolute joy. That was like the privilege every single day of getting to work with the ensemble. Definitely. It was so much fun.
Let's you mentioned the release of it. Let's talk about
Yeah,
that. What are the next plans
sure.
for it? Shout out the screening at the Music Box.
Yes,
What day
yes,
it's going to be so that our listeners can know about it. But also, what are your
yes.
plans for the future for this film?
So, everybody, thank you for tuning in. And if you want to go see An Autumn Summer for its ticketed premiere in Chicago, you can go to the historic Music Box Theater on April 23rd at 7 p.m. Ticket link is live at the Music Box. And then there will be a wide release of the film May 1st in Chicago, New York, LA, and some other cities, and definitely doing a Michigan tour as well to kind of honor the state. And then Michiganders, they turn out for movies shot in Michigan. So we'll be doing that, and then it'll be on digital sometime in June, most likely.
And you teased a second feature that takes place in Chicago. Is there any breadcrumbs you can give us about that?
Let's see. Let's see. If I was okay. What I it's like I don't know if any Hollywood meeting has ever gone this way. I've never had a Hollywood meeting, so I don't know. But it's like if you're pitching this movie, I'd be like, it's White Men Can't Jump meets Pursuit of Happiness in Chicago
Okay.
in like 2000.
Oh, a period
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah. So we've got like, yeah, a period piece. I don't know. I like maybe I like exploring my past a little bit in order to tell the story. And part of me is like, like come on, man, like meet the moment. Be an artist that meets the moment, but like maybe there's just better people or something to that effect that are like that want to meet that moment. And I don't know, maybe I can meet them and help them tell their story in some small way. But yeah, so that would be what it is. Father son with like a little bit of a con artist element to it with the White Man Can't Jump. Basketball here in Chicago. Yeah. And like it's very much like I think me as a character at like 8. I'm the son in this story, so to speak. Yeah. But that's the thing is I could also see it being like I've written a lot of this. There's just a lot of pages, and I could see it going a limited series way where we've got some like Friday Night Light elements to it, a high school team in Chicago basketball, but like told with that really intimate storytelling, like finding keying in on someone's hand on a cheek or like those really really intimate moments. But
Hmm.
I really want to cherish and honor Chicago, and like it was growing up in on the west side of Chicago in that time in 2000, being 8 years old, and really I was like so taken in by the community there, um, and watching that. I mean, like on one side of the block, it was like Latin American families that had been there for a long time, and then at the end of the block, the gentrification was starting. And that block, it's like a little block in off of Ashland, or off of Grand, and like yeah, that was a very palpable time in my life, and that's when I really think I developed a true appreciation for all the like the city, that there were so many different stories to be told here and all these different communities here in Chicago. And it's a beautiful city. It is a beautiful city comprised of these communities that I'd like to connect with again, and were really impactful growing up, and like take that with me everywhere. I think there's a hard work quality that we enjoy. There's like a true showing up for people thing that I enjoy, that I think I got from having people show up for me as a kid, and seeing that like it takes a community. And in today's world where we are very individualistic, and it's hard to do all of the responsibilities, like it was, as a kid I got to see what a little enclave of that community looks like within like one city block, and being a part of that. And there was a lot of beauty, and there was a lot of tragedy. Teenage kids that took me under their wing, who showed me how to shoot a proper jump shot as we shot hoops on a telephone pole with a milk crate strapped to it. Who were also, they were like involved in some heavy shit, and not all of them, you know, made it past their teenage years. And so getting to learn all of that, and the scope of the human experience within someone living three doors next to me. um and then like on the other side of that experience, a guy who like worked for the Chicago Bulls, who during tragedy like took all of us neighborhood kids to the United Center, where we played on the court one day after, and like
Wow.
the stadium was empty. And this was after like a tragedy had kind of befallen the community, with one of the teenagers dying. And so like it's like that feeling, that is what this next film is. And I don't, similarly like to with an autumn summer, like I, the feeling of this trip, getting, because it's like the Schmidt family, they're amazing, and it's like that's not the structure that I grew up in, but getting to be a part of it and know that it can exist, and it does exist, is a beautiful feeling, and one that like I wanted to make tangible for myself and for others as well. Like if it hopefully gives you some sort of feeling of light and goodness, because that's what I get out of that experience. And so similarly to that, like chasing these feelings and not really knowing, like I don't really know what this Chicago movie like is, like how do I, what's the story, the fictionalized like, but it's that feeling of community, and being there for one another, in the scope of that human experience. And I really hope that I really want to work. I hope I get to work with some Chicago filmmakers, some people I'm excited to meet, hopefully at the Music Box, but they've got their films coming up soon. That, and it's like seeing some crazy movies. This movie Positions, which I'm, to shout out another movie I'm very excited to see.
Yeah.
And I think that like I would love to see what the kind of those two worlds, like an autumn summer world and a Positions world, throwing those two styles together in a Chicago movie where like a main character is in over his head, sounds like a good time to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for asking. And I honestly, it's like I haven't spoken out loud about that really, very very sparingly, with like a best friend or my girlfriend. So it's interesting to say it out loud, and under try and understand what I'm even trying to process here. It's
Yeah.
like what would it even be? But yeah, that community, like it would be, it's like people there for each other, like a cookout on the block, like that's what it is.
I
Yeah.
love it. I think you're right when you say that there's so many stories in this city, and it's very rare that those stories are told by Chicagoans, who understand the rhythms, the feeling of the city. So I really do appreciate that that you have that in mind for your next project, because
Yeah,
we export filmmakers as opposed to having them come back home.
Mm-hmm.
it does
Um,
feel that way. Yeah, it does feel that way. And it's like that's I'm home now. So it's like, okay, I wanna who else is here wanting to make films here? And like let's get a community going, which I'm sure it's like, hey man, the community is going, like it's here. Get on board, or
Yeah, but yes and
be a part of it.
no. Yes and no. I would say
Yeah.
it's always it could always use another organization and another wave. And I think that you're right. There's plenty of people who are on that cusp right now who are making films in Chicago, who can create that next wave.
It does feel like that. And I mean, it's cool. Like we've got Joe Swanberg with a new movie out. Like obviously he like went to Alaska to shoot that. Oh yeah, Joe Swanberg's moderating the Q&A
Yes, I was
at the
gonna
Music
say
Box. Yeah.
he will
Like
be
why
there.
am I not? Yeah, so if you're a big fan of Joe and you like that world that he kind of that universe, like An Autumn Summer is not like, I feel like it's not in like the mumblecore universe. And maybe I have no idea if Joe like resents that kind of labeling, but like that I it's in that world. It's just in that indie feel good world. And yeah, i'm I'm proud to be a Chicago filmmaker. So now it's like you gotta, well, make a film in Chicago.
Yeah.
So we did hook up with the Panavision office in Chicago. Shout out to them. Yeah, they really hooked it up, which is, I think, hopefully all lends itself to the film looking beautiful. Thank you for. I'm glad that you asked if it was shot on film. I hope that like people that actually shoot on film are like, "Fuck you, bro!" Like,
I was
trying to
gonna,
make
yeah. I'm
trying to
showing my
make it
ass.
look like what I actually did. Well, it's like, yeah, we normalizing our budget. If like everybody got paid, like we didn't. This was, I think, I only want to do this once because it takes a lot, and it takes a lot of sacrifice as well, but sacrifice that's worth it at every step of the way. I mean, we made this, everybody wanted to be a part of something where I don't know how that expression goes, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, I forget, but like our Brandon, our incredible cinematographer who did this, who shot for free, like Mark and Lukita, who, and everybody, our actors who worked for the SAG rate. It's like normalizing this budget would have cost like $7 million, and we didn't have that. So everybody, the talent level across the board, everyone who made sacrifices to be a part of this and hopefully make something that was um, beyond just like the financial, like the number that we were making, because that wasn't what it was about. I think we achieved that. I think we achieved that, and I'm really proud of the movie. I hope everyone feels that way, and I think like in 2026, I'm already seeing with like Project Hail Mary and a couple. I just like, it feels like I'm wanting optimism in my films in ways that, like, I love sad movies too. Like I get a lot of optimism from tragedy because they exist in tandem. But I think like in today's world, in my interpretation of the world, like the little pockets of gravitational lights need to be that much stronger. And I think in Autumn Summer is just a little sliver of light that um, takes me back to a time like 2010, good times. And like, it'd be nice to get some of that pacing back into our life. It wasn't that long ago. So yeah, I'm really, really excited for the film to be out, and it was really lovely to chat with you both this afternoon about it. It's sunny out there today, so I hope it is. It looks like it is in Minnesota as
It
well.
is. There's a sliver of sun peeking through the clouds. I'm gonna ask you one more question, a question that we ask all of our guests. What is your recommendation for a food place, a restaurant in Chicago?
They don't need my plug, but Daisy's in Chicago in Logan Square, great pasta. You can't go wrong. And the pastry chef is next level, so the desserts are awesome. That's my go-to. That's my go-to.
One of
Yeah.
my great shames of my time at the Music Box was I had a series at the Music Box that I programmed that was a food and film series called Clean Plate Club, and we would pair up with a local restaurant. And for years I had Daisies and Daisies on my list. So the Czech film Daisies that I really wanted to show with, it's a food movie. They're stamping and throwing food all over the place. but I
Whoa.
wanted to pair up with the restaurant Daisy's, and I moved away before I could make that happen. So hopefully in another iteration of that series that could still happen, because that's one of the best restaurants in the city.
Is the series still going?
It is on hiatus. It usually, because I just moved here, it usually doesn't come back till the spring, summertime anyway. And the Music Box, I don't know if you know this, is opening up a third screen. So there's they're building out actually. Do you know if you're in the smaller screen or the bigger one?
No, we're on the main stage, baby.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great. Everybody
excited.
go buy tickets to An Autumn Summer. I'm going to use this as a plug for you, as well as talking about my shit. But because they're building out that third screen, they're shutting down the small screen for a few months because the hallway that will go and connect Theater 2 and Theater 3 are going to be in the same area. So we're getting an 100-seat theater, which is what the Music Box needs badly. But I'm guessing that this summer they're not going to bring that series back, although maybe they will. I would love for someone else to pick up that mantle because it was a lot of fun. But
That's not fun.
yeah.
And now I've got two foreign films. I've got Daisies, which you said is a Czech film. So
Yeah,
I've got
yeah,
Daisies,
from the 60s.
Daisies and A Fire.
Yes.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
I look forward for your next film to have a Daisies reference in it.
Yeah.
I'll find a way. I'll find a way.
Hey, Jared, it was awesome talking with you. I love talking with Chicago filmmakers. I love optimism. I'm a very optimistic in the face of all the bullshit. I remain very sappy and sentimental. So I appreciate your perspective on the world, and we need more films like it. So thank you for chatting with us today.
Yeah, thank
It
you.
was a privilege, guys. Thanks so much. Really. Talk to you both soon. Thanks, Paco. Thanks, Jeremy.
Please be considerate when talking on your phone or listening to electronic devices.